Hello, welcome back. We're going to continue on our creative videos, and one of the suggestions that we had was how to embroider on a towel. So I'm going to show you how to do a monogram, but basically what I'm going to show you would apply to anything. So anything that, like a dog or a cat, whatever you want to do on a towel, or any fabric that has a nap to it. So think of corduroys, think of velvets, think of like sweater materials, things like that that are going to have a nap and might give you a little bit of an issue when you're trying to do embroidery. So first thing when you're working with embroidery, and if I'm focusing on a towel, you can do it two ways. It depends on how much time you have. And you know, I'm laughing because we never leave anything to the last minute. No. Okay. So what I'm going to show you how to do today is sticky stabilizer that's going to wash out. So it is Faber Solvi Plus. So it has the stickiness to it, but it will wash away. So one thing that's kind of cool with that is when you're working with it, you just slap that puppy down, whatever you're working on, especially if you're doing like a velvet or velveteen. Think about it, you don't really want to hoop it, because if you hoop it, you have what we lovingly call hoop burn, because the fabric is going to get squished too much. Or if you're working on a project that honestly it's just going to be too difficult to hoop, too thick, you get the idea. That though, you need a washout. Okay, so you're going to have to, and which is what I did earlier. This is my towel that I'm doing. Okay, so nice, but it had residue on the back that I had to soak out. So again, great if you're working with a fabric that you can wash, or that it's for you and you're absolutely fine with washing it after you're sewing it. If you can't do that, what you would want to do is want to put stabilizer, like a tearaway, like Pellon Stitch and Tear or something like that, in the hoop. And then you're going to use spray adhesive, the temporary spray adhesive, and that will hold everything together for you. So that's also another option. No matter what, whenever you are working on anything that has a nap to it, so towels, anything like that, you want to work with a wash away stabilizer. So this one that I'm using right now is going to be Super Solvi. It's done by the Sulky company. And Super Solvi is great, especially if you have something that has quite a bit of a nap to it. Or Solvi will do an awesome job, which is just a little bit lighter weight. So either or will work fine. Now, you'll notice, hopefully, I have put a line going across as well as vertical. So, see if my camera person can, okay, line going horizontal and vertical. This will make sense in a second. So I took and I drew on it. I drew actually with a friction pen. That means that if for some reason the mark transfers to it, it's just going to be an iron away, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, on our website is going to be available Monogram Placement. These are just suggestions. These are kind of what this industry standard is. It's your towel. Do what you wish. But this will give you at least an idea, especially if you don't know where you're kind of coming from first time doing it. Or also, if 2 months down the line your friend says, I love your towels, could you do one just like it? And you think, how did I do that again? So they'll give you information on there. Basically what I'm going to be doing today is the bath towel. So if you have a towel that has a border, which honestly most of them do, this is what we mean by the border. Okay, the bottom of your monogram wants to be about 2 inches up. If you're doing work with a towel that has no border whatsoever, then about 4 inches from the hem is traditional. But again, it's yours. Do what you wish. So to help me out with that placement, that's why I've drawn the line on my Solvi. So first thing you want to do is you're going to hoop your Fabri-Solvi Plus. It has the stabilizer that's sticky with paper. Okay, so what's going to happen is we need to peel the paper away. So we take I do it with a pin. I find that that works best for me. And you want to push, but don't push too hard. And we're just going to score all the way around. Okay. And then get it started. There you go. See, it's traditionally not that hard. All right, and you see how I can peel it away. Now, it's sticky. And that's what we're going to use to get everything lined up and positioned. So at this point, you're going to take your towel, and whether you wash your towel beforehand or not is absolutely up to you. I didn't. You want to go the opposite to the tags, okay? So line it up. And the first thing we need to do is we're going to fold the towel in half lengthwise. So you'll see again how I line this up, okay? Fold it in half. And then I take one of those pins, and you'll see the fold, and I use a pin to get it lined up. Sometimes you can actually use a sticker, sometimes a marking pen, but sometimes on a towel like this, marking pens don't show up the best. All right, so once we have done that, remember how I said the bottom of the monogram wants to be 2 inches above the border. So I get my rotary ruler and I line it up along the border, and we're going to be about there. Move this so I have it a little closer. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, so now how is this going to work? Because anytime you're doing embroidery with a nap, there is my center section. Okay, so you can kind of see it. See how there's that up and down center of my towel, and there's the 2 inches from the bottom. So that is where I'm going to line up for my towel. Now I take and I'm going to pin it so it doesn't shift on me too much. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, Pam, what happens to the pins that are underneath? We're going to take those out in just a second. But I just want to get it kind of pinned. Alrighty. Now I'm working on the Solaris 2 today, which means I'm going to have the ability for a camera. And trust me, I am going to utilize that camera so I can take a picture as to where everything is. However, say you have an embroidery machine that you don't have the ability to see where that is. So remember how I said you want to have the bottom of the monogram at 2 inches above. So if you needed to find out where the center of your monogram would be, let's make this simple for ourselves. Say your letter was 4 inches tall. What is 4 divided by 2 is 2, right? So 2 inches. So that bottom line, where your bottom of your monogram should be, you're going to come up 2 inches, and that's where your center of your monogram is going to be. Does that make sense? So again, remember we have to have 4 inches, in this case total, so 2 inches from the border. That's the bottom of the monogram, and then however tall your design is. It could be that you're doing a cat or a dog. Say your dog is 4 inches tall, halfway is going to be another 2 inches up from that line. So simple math, not too bad. All right, so now at this point, we are going to look at our hoop. We're going to attach our hoop. This piece is going to go on where the arm is. So we want all of our towel to be to the left. So when we line this up, you're going to notice there is marks on my hoop. You'll see up and down as well as side to side. So what I want to do is I want to basically find out the center, and the easiest way I found to do this is actually fold your towel in half. And I roughly know where the center is. And then open it up. Now, remember, I have a camera built into this machine, and am I going to use it? You better believe it. All right, so what's going to happen here is we have the ability to scan. Now, say you're working on a machine that doesn't, you just want to make sure the inside of your hoop, which you can feel, see how the border, I can feel the ridge right along that edge. So you know you're pretty straight. And remember, if you were working with a machine or design that you needed it to be here, okay, remember just put a mark on your solving. So at this point, we have to talk about lettering. I am working with letters that are built in to the machine. So if I'm working with a letter that's built into the machine, I got as big as I could. And on the machine, I have the ability to fill in the density. If you don't have that, if you have software that you work with for doing your lettering, check to see whether you can increase the density so it'll be better on a towel. So I'm going to move on over. And this is the fiddly part. Just work with it. Slide that in, make sure I put my little flap down, and voila. Make sure you don't have the towel dragging too much. So you see how I kind of placed it up a little bit? So I want it so it's not dragging. Now, at this point, I'm going to tell the machine to scan. And I can see it on my screen, and I caught some of my hand in there. Now, what is also awesome with the Solaris, I have the ability to project. So it'll give me, and if you can take a look, see, look at that. That is part of my letter. Pretty cool. All right. So at this point, I'm going to take a look and see, and I have the ability to move it so I can see. So now, take a look, and I'm gonna see the bottom of the letter is a little bit below my line there. So, look at that. I can just move it. And that looks pretty good. And I'll take a look-see. I still have to move my letter down a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the middle of my letter H, and again I'll project that for you so you can see it. I want the middle of my H to be lined right up with that center line. So I have it pretty good. Now, that looks pretty good to me. I may be 1/32 of an inch off. I'm cool with that. But if that would drive you crazy, just move it down.
You might mention that you turned it 90 degrees.
Yes, thank you. My camera person, my sister Loretta today. Remember, we're doing a towel, right? And I have all of my towel this way to the left. Rotate your letter. Okay? If you don't rotate your letter, you're going to have a very interesting dog, cat, or letter on your towel. All right, we are good to go. Now, I am working with the gold embroidery, and I like to use a size 14. So if I'm doing work on denim, corduroys, things that are thick, please make sure you use a thicker embroidery needle. Also, what I will do is if I have a color in a polyester thread, that would be my choice as well. So I would want to work with a polyester thread, though that is not absolutely critical. And I also like to have my same color thread top and bottom. Now, if you have the capability on your machine to raise your presser foot, and I'm not talking about simply raising your presser foot, but when it's in the down position, you want to lower. If you leave it on the preset, most of the time it's going to move your towel because your towel's kind of thick, considering we do a lot of our embroidery on a cotton piece of material. So what's going to happen is on a lot of machines, you have the ability to raise the foot when it's doing the sewing. So it'll pass over top of the stitches, so it's not going to push anything out of the way. So if you have that option, use it.
And where would they find that?
In the settings area on your machine. So if you were to, on the baby locks, that you have that piece of paper that has lines on it with that little corner. If you go, it's called embroidery foot height. Now, I give you this little nugget of power and a nugget of knowledge, but use it wisely. Because I have seen more than one person forget that they've adjusted this and then go to something really sheer and your machine doesn't sew. And then you drag it into your dealer and you're like, well, why is it not stitching? And they're wondering, why is your foot so high? So remember, high foot is helpful when you're sewing thick things. But please remember to put it to the default. It doesn't reset itself. So if you turn the machine off and turn it back on, that's not going to help you. So be aware of, you can, on some machines you have the ability to adjust the embroidery foot height, but remember, it's a powerful tool, use it wisely. So again, I have my Super Solvy on top, I have my sticky Fabri-Solvy underneath, so my towel is nice and secure. At this point, I threaded the top of my machine. I'm going to basically lower my presser foot, and I'm going to hit start. And it is mesmerizing. I can watch something do embroidery all day. So again, the Super Solvy would be my choice if you have something that has a lot of nap to it. And I need to, oh, my thread got caught. So I'm going to rethread and I'll be right back. All right, my thread got caught on my spool cap. So the thread broke on me. What you want to do, if that happens, and after you've rethreaded it, you want to make sure you go back in your design a little bit. So on my machine, I have a little symbol that's a needle with a plus minus. I go back about 10 stitches. I find that that works well. And on the Solaris, I have a feature that I can tie on. So it's a button on the front of the machine that's a little circle. And what it allows me to do, it does 4 or 5 stitches, so it allows me to tack it back on again. And just so. This design, this letter is going to take about 13 minutes, and I'll see you in just a second. Alrighty, done. It's all completed. I have taken my pins out, and can you see how easily it's being pulled? So your top stabilizer, let me take it out off the machine. Your top stabilizer, your Super Solvy, is just going to pull straight out. Super simple. All right. Now, what do we do about the stabilizer that's on the back? We are going to loosen the screw for our hoop. We're going to disconnect everything. And you can see how I can start to pull it away. I then take my scissors and I'm going to basically get as close as I can. Okay, you're going to cut all the way around and then soak it. I ran it under water. I soaked it for probably about a half hour. And then I put it in the washer and dryer. All right? And there you go. So have some fun. Monogram some stuff. Okay? And when you're working with it, just remember, it's all about having some fun, putting a monogram on there. And when you're done, give it to yourself or give it to a friend. Now, next time, I will see you. It's going to be a live question and answer on stabilizers. See you then.